Hello there, it's midnight and you're watching Nightline with me, Anita Wu. The headlines. Major examinations in Malaysia postponed to 2021. Up to banks to extend moratorium, says Finance Minister. And floods in Sabah worsen with 55 villages affected. We begin with our headlining story. Candidates setting for Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia (SPM), Sijil Tinggi Pelajaran Malaysia (STPM), Sijil Tinggi Agama Malaysia (STAM), and Sijil Vocational Malaysia will have more time to revise for their respective examinations. The Education Ministry (MOE) postponed the respective annual examinations to the first week of 2021. In a statement, the Education Ministry said the postponement was to provide the students ample time to study and prepare for the examinations. The MOE said Form 5 students will sit for the SPM examination from January 6th to February 9th next year. The examination was supposed to be held from November 16th to December 7th this year, but was postponed due to the movement control order. As the SPM examination for 2020 is scheduled to begin in the first week of 2021, the Ministry took into account the need to reorganise logistics for the examination. This includes fixing the start date for the 2021 school session, which will be announced soon. The new STPM examination dates for Semester 2 and Semester 3 students, which was scheduled for November, had also been postponed to August 12th to 18th for Semester 2 and March 1st to 9th for Semester 3 next year. STAM, which was to be held in October this year, will now be held from February 17th to 25th, 2021, whereas the Sijil Vocational Malaysia exams, initially scheduled earlier in May for Session 1 and October for Session 2 this year, have also been respectively moved to August 2020 and January and May 2021. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin called on local authorities and government agencies to be more proactive by going to the ground to meet traders to get to know their problems. He said the move should be taken to assist the traders to restart their businesses after being affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister stated that there should be a different approach carried out in regards to the matter so that the efforts by the government to regenerate the economy is successfully implemented. Tan Sri Muhyiddin, who is also Paguh Member of Parliament, said this in a statement after a meeting with 37 representatives of Muar district traders and industries on Sunday. The Prime Minister also reminded government agencies and local authorities that they should facilitate the businesses and industries to reinvigorate the economy. This includes not imposing unnecessary restrictions and obstacles on businesses which have been allowed to restart their operations, as well as easing their application for licenses and expediting the approval process. He added this is also part of the new normal, which government bodies must get used to, in line with the federal government's firm and bold decision to reopen various economic sectors. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also warned that the economic sector in many countries have been badly affected by the pandemic, and Malaysia has not been exempted from receiving the impact. Because of this, Malaysia should not lag behind other countries in rehabilitating the economy, even more so when it has been recognised as among the best countries in containing the spread of the coronavirus. Finance Minister Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul on Sunday said that it is up to the banks if they wish to extend the loan moratorium in a targeted way. He expressed the view that banks should look into targeted assistance, but they cannot be forced to do so, as it is within their jurisdiction.
Banyak request, in fact, from people who need more time for the moratorium. Jadi bagi pihak kerajaan, we are engaging the banks because this is really up to the banks sebenarnya whether they can or cannot. Tapi in my view ni my personal view personal view saya ialah kita perlu menolong orang yang perlu ditolong ya.
According to Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul, the targeted moratorium extension should be looked at by banks on a case-by-case basis. Going forward, he feels that the best way is to focus on the targeted groups who need help in regards to the matter. He also said borrowers have to engage with their banks early if they feel they need to reschedule their loan repayments, especially for those who have lost their jobs and have had their pay reduced. Under the Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package, Bank Negara Malaysia proposed an automatic moratorium on all loan repayments by individuals and small and medium enterprises for 6 months, from April 1st to September 30th this year. In the meantime, Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul added that the government will continue to adhere to fiscal discipline so that the fiscal deficit could be reduced once the economy improves.
Current account kita daripada segi expenditure is positif, ya. Kita tidak menggunakan pinjaman untuk current account kita. Jadi kita walaupun fiscal kita deficit, our current account is not in deficit.
On June 25th, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, revised upwards Malaysia's 2020 gross domestic product, GDP forecast, to 3.8% year-on-year contraction from the previously estimated 1.7% contraction. The World Bank, however, downgraded its forecast for Malaysia's economy this year and expects the economy to contract by 3.1%. Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul said the lower projection was in line with the central bank's forecast of between negative 2.0% and 0.5% in 2020 amid highly challenging global economic outlooks. The Health Ministry on Sunday reported 18 new COVID-19 cases with no local transmission cases among Malaysian citizens. Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah in a statement said of the 18 new infections, 4 were imported cases and 14 were local transmissions involving only non-citizens. Among the local transmission cases, 9 cases were reported from retesting in the Pedas cluster, followed by 2 cases in the Sepang Immigration Detention Centre, 2 cases in Sabah and 1 case in Kuala Lumpur through screening of construction workers. On the other hand, 10 more patients recovered today, bringing the total recoveries to 8,318 cases, or 96.3% of overall cases. No new deaths were recorded. 4 people were nabbed and issued compounds by the police for violating the Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO on Saturday. Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said 2 of them had breached the Standard Operating Procedure, SOP, with one attending an activity which hindered social distancing and the other nabbed at a karaoke or family entertainment centre. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri in a statement said the police task force conducted a total of 66,063 inspections on Saturday. A total of 3,466 compliance task forces have conducted checks nationwide involving a total of 15,210 personnel. Checks were conducted at supermarkets, restaurants, stalls, factories, banks and government offices. Also checked were almost 2,000 land terminals, 253 water terminals and 100 air transport terminals. 21 schools in Sabah have been inundated by floods so far, and 4 others are serving as temporary relief centres, PPS, to flood victims. This as the state was hit with a heavy downpour since Saturday evening. Sabah Education Director Dr. Mistirene Radin, in a statement on Sunday, said the schools involved are located in 7 districts affected by floods, namely Penampang, Kota Kinabalu, Papa, Sipitang, Kota Belud, Tuaran and Beaufort. In total, the flooding in Sabah has affected up to 55 villages in 10 districts statewide as of noon today, an increase from 30 villages in 5 districts as of 8 a.m. Sunday morning. In a statement, the Sabah Malaysia Civil Defence Force said 4 temporary evacuation centres have been opened, 2 in Kota Belud, housing 81 people from 31 families, 1 relief centre in Penampang, housing 21 people from 6 families, and 1 centre in Papa with 60 people from 19 families. The heavy rain also affected road users, with reports that hundreds of cars were stranded at the Kota Belud main roundabout due to the high levels of water. A fire had again broken out at the Sultanah Aminah Hospital in Johor Bahru on Sunday. The incident occurred at one of the hospital's female wards at about 3 p.m, forcing its personnel to evacuate patients from the premises to a safer area. Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Adham Baba, who visited the scene, said the hospital's emergency response team initially had the blaze under control. However, the fire flared back up before firemen arrived and completely extinguished the flames. He also revealed that the building houses 52 patients, but there were only 24 patients in the block affected by the incident. He added these patients will be housed at other wards in the hospital. However, some will be moved to Permai Hospital as they needed to be isolated. Despite the incident, all of the hospital's operations were not affected and resumed as normal.
Kebakaran dapat dipadam dalam masa 10 minit sepenuhnya dan pesakit-pesakit yang berada dalam ward ini telah pun kita agihkan dipindahkan ke ward-ward lain dan dapat diselamatkan dan tidak ada kematian.
Earlier, several videos were shared by netizens on social media showing hospital staff rushing to move patients away from the flames. State Fire and Rescue Department Director Datuk Yahya Madis said the cause of the incident is still being investigated.
Pasukan forensik kita dah buat kerja dah kat dalam. Jadi bila apabila selesai siasatan, kita akan serah balik kepada pihak hospital dan laporan siasatan kita akan keluarkan.
In 2016, 6 patients were killed while 100 others were forced to evacuate when a fire broke out in the intensive care unit of the same hospital. We're going for a short break, and when we return, Lamborghini worth more than R1 million goes up in flames in Bukit Bintang. The details next. Welcome back, still on Nightline. Police have not ruled out arson in the case earlier on Sunday where a Lamborghini Aventador was gutted in fire in Bukit Bintang, Kuala Lumpur. Dangwangi Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Fahmi Visuvanathan Abdullah, when contacted, said authorities are still investigating the matter. According to a source, based on initial investigations by police on a CCTV recording obtained from the scene, 2 men wearing helmets and face masks were seen arriving on a motorcycle before pouring liquid on the luxury sports car. A mineral bottle with traces of liquid suspected to be petrol and a matchbox were also found nearby. The source also said checks conducted showed the Lamborghini, registered under a private company in Langkawi, is owned by a businessman with a Datuk title. The incident occurred at a parking lot of the Pavilion Residences at Jalan Raja at 2:40 a.m. No one was injured in the fire, which destroyed at least 40% of the Lamborghini, estimated to be worth about R1 million. Firemen who were alerted of the blaze at 2:40 a.m. rushed to the scene and put out the flames within minutes. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Police are on the hunt for a man to assist investigations into the kidnap and murder of a real estate businessman with a Datuk Sri title. This following the arrests of 7 men, including a Bangladeshi, and the discovery of the victim's body in Rawang, Selangor on Saturday. In a statement on Sunday, State CID Chief Datuk Fazil Ahmad said the wanted man is known as 26-year-old Sheikh Ismail Sheikh Hassan, also known as EI, whose last known address is at Teratai Apartment, Bukit Beruntung. He added those with information on the man's whereabouts are urged to come forward or contact police to help in the probe. So far, police have yet to reveal the identity of the victim. Yesterday, authorities confirmed that the mastermind of the kidnapping was among the 7 suspects arrested. He was also someone with a Datuk title and known to the victim through business dealings. A source said, based on initial investigations, it was believed that the deceased had owed the Datuk a large debt and he hired the other suspects to kidnap the victim to get his money back. The 55-year-old was abducted while jogging in Bandar Sri Damansara, Petaling Jaya on June 10th. It was understood that the kidnappers had demanded for a ransom totaling 154 million ringgit from the victim's family, but no payment was made. All the suspects were later nabbed in a series of raids between Friday and Saturday, which then led authorities to find the body in Bistari Jaya. 3 members of a family and a woman who is the fiancée of one of the trio were charged in the Alostar Magistrates Court on Sunday for drug trafficking more than a week ago. No plea was recorded from all of them after the charge was read before Magistrate Nur Shahida Abdul Rahim. The accused comprised of brothers Amran Azizan and Azrul Nizam Azizan, aged 45 and 40 respectively, as well as their mother, 67-year-old Puan Saad, and a woman, Nur Shamimi Matnoor, aged 34. The 4 were charged together for trafficking over 780 grams of heroin on the roadside at Jalan Datuk Kumbar at 6 p.m. on June 19th. The offence under the Dangerous Drugs Act carries the death penalty upon conviction. The court set September 13th for case remention. Kajang Police have opened 41 investigation papers pertaining to illegal racing as part of the Op Samsing police operation held since the beginning of this year. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Zaid Hassan said 119 arrests have been made between January 1st to June 27th.
Bagi minggu ini saja sejumlah 6 tangkapan telah dibuat di bawah kesalahan memandu di bawah pengaruh alkohol. Kebanyakan pesalah-pesalah yang ditahan ini bagi kesalahan samsing jalanan adalah kebanyakannya remaja di bawah umur 20 tahun ke bawah lah. Manakala bagi pemandu di bawah pengaruh alkohol ini tidak mengira had umur.
He added that in total 43 individuals were arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol since the operation began. He was met after overseeing a police roadblock on the Lekas Highway and Bukit Dukung R&R area. Almost 300 vehicles were inspected. The late-night operation saw 121 summonses issued for various offences. Still to come on Nightline, 500,000 in lockdown as Beijing fights new coronavirus cluster. Do stay with us. We're now back with news on the foreign front. China imposed a strict lockdown on nearly 500,000 people in Hebei province to contain a fresh COVID-19 cluster on Sunday. This as local authorities warned the outbreak was still severe and complicated. According to health officials, Arson County, located about 150 kilometers from Beijing, will be fully enclosed and controlled, as per the same strict measures imposed at the height of the pandemic in the city of Wuhan earlier this year. Only one person from each family will be allowed to go out once a day to purchase necessities such as food and medicine. The move comes after another 14 cases of the virus were reported in the past 24 hours in Beijing, taking the total to 311 since mid-June and spurring the testing of millions of residents. COVID-19 infections across the United States have passed 2.5 million, with a record number of cases reported in the states of Florida and Texas. The surge in cases in the southern states comes after businesses were allowed to reopen in recent weeks. On Saturday, Florida reported more than 9,500 new cases, up from almost 9,000 on Friday. The spike led Florida state officials to tighten restrictions on businesses once again. Similarly, Texas tightened restrictions on Friday. Speaking at the first White House coronavirus task force briefing in 2 months, the leading U.S. government advisor on coronavirus, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said on Friday that the country has a serious problem with infections spiking. He stressed that the current rises were due to regions maybe opening a little bit too early and for people themselves not following guidance. More than 125,000 COVID-19 patients have died nationwide, more than any other country.
I think what we're missing in this.
Singapore reported 11 new community cases of COVID-19 for a second day out of a total of 213 new infections as of noon on Sunday, bringing the total number of COVID-19 cases in Singapore to 43,459. Its health ministry in a preliminary daily update said of the new community cases, 6 are Singaporeans or permanent residents and 5 are work pass holders. The remaining new cases are work permit holders living in foreign worker dormitories. Australia's Victoria state will implement mandatory COVID-19 tests for returning travellers after a sharp spike in infections over the past 2 weeks. The country's second most populous state had 49 new cases on Sunday, its highest in more than 2 months, while the rest of Australia has seen almost no infections. Victoria's officials said earlier this week that some 30% of returning travellers refused a COVID-19 test. Despite the spike in Victoria, Australia's nearly 7,700 cases and 104 deaths remain well below that of many other nations. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said on Sunday that mask wearing will be mandatory in certain areas as of next week and gave virus-hit provinces the green light to reimpose restrictive measures. The Republic has refrained from enforcing full lockdowns to stop the spread of the COVID-19 disease, and the use of masks and protective equipment has been optional in most areas. The measure would come into force as of next week, continue until July 22nd, and would be extended if necessary. Iran reported its first COVID-19 case on February 19th, and it has since struggled to contain the outbreak as the death toll has crossed 10,000 and the number of infected reached more than 220,000. In the United States, at least 2 were dead after a man entered a Walmart distribution center in Red Bluff, California, and started firing at random targets, killing 1 person before policemen fatally shot him during an exchange of gunfire. According to local authorities, the shooter, identified as Louis Lane, aged 31, was a staff in the distribution center who was reportedly fired in February 2019 for not showing up to work. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, 1 person was killed and another wounded in a shooting at a Black Lives Matter rally, where protesters have gathered for weeks over the killing of an African-American woman, Breonna Taylor. Louisville Metro Police said they received reports of shots being fired at Jefferson Square Park at around 9 p.m. local time. The police are currently trying to gather as much information as possible in order to identify all who were involved in the incident. There's been no information about arrests or possible suspects yet. However, the victims' identities and ages were immediately released. We now take a look at the highlights of Malaysia's main newspapers, awaiting you Monday, June 29th. The New Straits Times front page highlights the vacillations on the choice of candidates taking up leadership posts for Pakatan Harapan. While Malaysia's best-selling Malay newspaper, Harian Metro, features a report on the kidnapped Datuk Sri's family, believing that he is still alive as a ransom demanded has not been paid. Article on the suggestion to extend the loan moratorium takes the front page of Berita Harian. And finally, the Malaysian Reserve headlines, Malaysia Airlines and AirAsia looking to increase capacity as demand soar. Do get your copies today or subscribe to the e-paper. And in closing today, a trio of base jumpers was seen jumping from the top of a mountain in the Swiss Alps in their wingsuits recently. The group flew from Grand Chavalard in Valley Canton and finished 2 kilometers further down to the ground. As we wrap up Nightline, we leave you with the visuals of this anxiety and thrilling-inducing activity. I'm Manita Wu. Thank you for watching and be well.